You ever listen to a rapper and feel like they're telling you a story you've never heard before, but it's one you know? That was Young Scooter. He was not the flashy in your face type of rapper, but the kind who lets the streets speak through his voice. His music was like a window into Atlanta's Zone 6. It was raw, unfiltered, and real. From the very first bars of Columbia, you felt it. The beat was cold, but Scooter's voice was colder, like he was narrating the hustle and the grind with no sugarcoating. What made him special wasn't just the music, it was the way his words connected. It was so crazy that people even started quoting his lines like life advice, and he did that with no gimmicks and no viral stunts. Just real talk that stuck with you. That's why when Rick Ross and Birdman hopped on the Columbia remix, it wasn't just a feature, it was a cosign that told everyone this guy's the real deal. That's how Young Scooter went viral, not through flashy hype, but because his story was too raw to ignore. What's wild about Columbia is that it wasn't some overproduced hit crafted in a fancy studio for radio play. Nah, it was pure street music. Gritty, real, and unapologetic. Scooter didn't need to pretend or embellish. He was rapping about his life, the risks, the grind, the money moves, and the cold reality of the trap. The beat Metro Boomin cooked up was icy, moody, and the perfect canvas for Scooter's storytelling. It wasn't just music, it was an experience that pulled you into the heart of Atlanta's Zone 6. But here's the thing, Columbia went viral without Scooter trying to chase it. People were looping the hook on Vine, quoting it on Twitter, and sharing it in group chats. The internet basically made the song explode on its own. Then Rick Ross and Birdman jumped on the remix, giving the track heavyweight props, and the buzz grew even bigger. But even with that kind of attention, Scooter stayed humble and low-key, never really pushing for mainstream fame. He just kept it about the music, about telling the story he knew firsthand. Then things took a turn that could have stopped any other rapper's rise. Young Scooter got locked up. But instead of fading away, he turned his time behind bars into another viral moment that only boosted his legend. While most artists rely on social media and constant content, Scooter dropped From the Cell Block to Your Block straight from prison. No flashy videos and no Instagram posts, just bars and raw emotion that cut deeper because they came from confinement. That mixtape wasn't just a filler project, it was a statement. Featuring heavy hitters like Future and Gucci Mane, it proved Scooter wasn't just a one-hit wonder. His voice still commanded attention, delivering the same grittiness with even more intensity. Fans rallied around him, sharing clips and praising how real and unfiltered his music was. Oh, and the internet embraced this chapter of his career hard. Memes, reactions, and support flooded in, showing that being behind bars didn't stop Scooter's momentum, it made him a hood hero. This moment became one of his most viral and defining stories, adding layers to the man behind the music. And here's where things get interesting. One thing that always set Young Scooter apart was his wild approach to making music. Unlike a lot of rappers who spend hours writing and rewriting, he didn't write down his lyrics at all. Dude would just step into the booth and freestyle his bars from memory and experience. It sounds crazy, but that's how he made his most memorable tracks. And that no pen, no pad style showed how deep his connection to the streets really was. He wasn't crafting lyrics in a studio with fancy setups, he was spitting what he lived every day. That raw delivery wasn't polished or perfect, but it was honest. You could hear the weight in his voice, the way he'd say something like, "I'm the only one that got me, only one that had to deal with me. When my mama ain't there, I had to go get me, and I went and got me what I needed, you hear me?" And you know he meant that. Fans started quoting him not just for bars, but for wisdom. Like, Scooter became this low-key rap philosopher without even trying. People loved hearing him talk about this in interviews too, where he'd explain how he just walked into the booth and let it flow, no scripts needed. That freestyle energy gave his songs a raw edge, like you were catching him in the middle of a moment, not just listening to a rehearsed performance. And in a world where so much rap feels overproduced or polished to perfection, Scooter's music was a breath of fresh air. That's why his viral moments weren't just about the beats or catchy hooks, they were about truth. That authenticity is what kept fans coming back, sharing clips and quoting his lines long after the songs dropped. That's when people started calling him a trap philosopher, not in some fake deep way either, but because the man could really break down life in a couple of hard-hitting lines. Even outside the music, he kept it solid. Interviews, podcasts, clips of him talking would go viral because of how casually wise he was. He'd just be sitting there, laid back, talking about loyalty or struggle, and he'd drop something that felt like it belonged on a billboard. And through all of this, one person was always in his corner: Future. Their bond wasn't just some rap game collaboration for clout, it was a brotherhood that was solidified in music. Before Future became The Future, he and Scooter were already making music together. They were both from East Atlanta, both with that raw melodic pain in their voices, both speaking for the same people. When they linked up on projects like Street Lottery 3, it wasn't just two rappers trading verses, it felt like two generals reporting from the battlefield. You could hear it in how they fed off each other. Future might hit the melodic highs, rapping about Cody dreams and lost loyalty, and Scooter would slide in right after with a verse so grounded it felt like cement. People started calling them the Batman and Robin of trap, not because one was the sidekick, but because their energy just worked. You never got the sense that either was chasing the spotlight. Even when Future exploded into the mainstream, he never left Scooter behind. He always gave him props and always made space for him on big projects, and Scooter stayed 10 toes down. Fans loved seeing them together because it reminded them of something rare in the industry: loyalty. It wasn't just about who was hot at the moment. Their collaborations became anthems, not just because of the bars, but because of the bond between them. When Future said Scooter was one of the realest, you believed him, and when Scooter dropped a verse next to him, he proved it every time. What's crazy is, even without ever chasing fame the way other rappers do, young Scooter ended up building a whole culture around his sound. He didn't have to go viral every month or show up at every awards show. Instead, his music became a blueprint, especially in Atlanta. His style, that no-nonsense delivery, the trap talk that wasn't glamorized but told like it really is. Yeah, rappers started picking up on that. That's what made it hit so hard when the news broke in March 2025 that young Scooter had been shot and killed in Atlanta. It didn't even feel real at first. Like, how could someone so respected, so solid, just be gone? Social media lit up instantly with people posting tributes, clips of his interviews, fans quoting their favorite bars, and celebrities expressing disbelief. And what made it even more heartbreaking was how much Scooter still had to give. He wasn't washed up. He was still working, still recording, still dropping verses that had the same raw bite, that same calm truth. He had just posted on Instagram days before, and it was nothing dramatic, just him being himself, low-key, focused, and in his own lane. No one expected it to end like that. The fans mourned heavy. Not just Atlanta, but the whole culture. Artists he came up with, like Future, posted heartbreaking messages about losing their brother. It was pain, pure pain, because when you lose someone that real, there's no replacing them. But even in death, Scooter's legacy kept echoing. His songs were played louder, his quotes got reposted more, and his name started being mentioned with even more respect. New fans discovered his old tapes. Old fans ran back everything, hearing it now with new weight. Young Scooter didn't chase the spotlight, but somehow he became a star anyway. And even though he's gone, the light he brought to the game, that's forever. If this is your first time hearing about young Scooter, dive into the music, listen to the story he told in his own words. If you like this video, like and subscribe to get more amazing videos like this.